Colombia, the most naughty country in the world. All of you have heard of this place on various occasions, whether in the context of football, associated with Pablo Escobar, or due to its vibrant nightlife and lush nature. I am referring to a country with a territorial extension 5 times larger than that of Ecuador, a population of 52 million inhabitants, making it the second most populous country in South America after Brazil. However, being in a developing country with such a large population has its own consequences. This has led women to engage in prostitution, while men are drawn to the world of crime and robberies. When you establish contact with someone in Colombia, no one judges your financial situation or wastes time based on it. If you make it clear that you are willing to spend money, you will find dozens of people ready to share moments with you within minutes. If you establish prolonged eye contact for more than 5 seconds, they naturally approach you. Furthermore, Colombian authorities do not get involved in these interactions. In summary, prostitution is allowed in the country, and police interventions are restricted only to those involved in drug trafficking. They never interfere in interpersonal relationships. If you prefer more authentic relationships, it is essential to engage in dancing with the Colombians, since the typical Latin rhythms of the region are one of the main forms of connection between people in the country. The music does not stop until dawn, and people are always engaged in dancing. Let's talk about the history of Colombia. Colombia's independence process began with various organizations and events initially led by Antonio Nariño and Camilo Torres Tenorio. Later, the fight for independence was led by Simón Bolívar and Francisco de Paula Santander, culminating in the long Battle of Boyacá. After the battle, Gran Colombia was established, encompassing the territories that now correspond to Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, and Ecuador under the leadership of Simón Bolívar. Over approximately a century, power in Gran Colombia was disputed between the conservative and liberal parties, leading to a long-lasting civil war due to the rivalry between these factions. In 1948, the assassination of a liberal leader triggered riots in Bogotá known as the Bogotazo, which spread throughout the country and resulted in thousands of deaths. This led liberals and conservatives to share power. In the 1980s, cocaine production expanded significantly in Colombia, and the country became the world's largest producer of this substance, with 79% of global production currently concentrated in the country. A pause. The more likes we receive, the more amazing videos we can create for you. So don't be shy, leave your like now. Moving on to today's reality, one of the cities is Medellin. When viewed from above, the structure of its buildings resembles Hong Kong. Despite being located in a relatively small area of about 382 square kilometers, the city is home to almost 3 million inhabitants. This led to the construction of tall and multifaceted buildings until about 3 decades ago. Medellin was famous for being the most dangerous city in the world. Currently, there are still improvised housing areas, although organized criminal gangs have virtually disappeared. So this city that was once a stronghold of cartels has become the most sought-after tourist destination in Colombia. People are drawn to this country due to this unique characteristic. When they arrive in Medellin, they always make sure to visit Escobar's tomb, the founder of the Medellin cartel, who became the protagonist of numerous series and movies worldwide. Later, Escobar was killed by agents supported by the United States. After the Escobar era, Medellin and Colombia quickly embarked on a process of renewal to change the negative image that accompanied them. Over time, they managed to partially undo this harmful image. Streets that were once avoided have turned into tourist spots. The city is now full of street artists and graffiti on every corner, especially in the area known as Comuna 13, where life in Medellin flourishes. It is one of the most photographed locations in the country, and also a place where it is easy to connect with Colombians. Additionally, Medellin is a very welcoming city, and when people want to escape the heat, they usually go to the bustling malls. Therefore, Medellin attracts tourists from various parts of the world to Colombia, largely due to the considerable devaluation of the Colombian peso against the US dollar, with $1 worth approximately 4,500 Colombian pesos. Regarding the cost of living in the country, the minimum wage in Colombia is 1 million pesos, or about $250. First, let's examine rental values. It is evident that the cost of living is directly linked to the standard of living, but it is also intrinsically linked to personal income. Well, the rent for a 3-bedroom apartment in Bogotá costs approximately $500. Meanwhile, in Cali, a property with similar characteristics varies between $280 and $380. In this sense, many people, especially singles, choose to rent a room in a family house or share an apartment. This significantly reduces housing expenses to around $115. On the other hand, a childless couple can live in a furnished studio for about $85 per month with all expenses included. In general, food prices in Colombia are not too high. Foreign tourists have the opportunity to stay in high-standard hotels for an average of $30 per night. However, when questioning a common resident of cities like Medellin or the capital Bogota, you will hear that they earn around only $300 per month. Therefore, the reality is that local residents do not enjoy the same level of comfort as tourists. The country has an Uber system offering transportation options for about $3 per trip to get anywhere in Medellin, avoiding the crowds and crowding of urban public transport. However, opting for a regular yellow taxi can result in considerably higher expenses. The locals prefer to use motorcycles, as acquiring a car is a difficult task for most Colombians who often cannot save money, allocating most of their earnings to basic needs. For these reasons, Colombia is often compared to the Thailand of South America, where both food and entertainment are affordable, but unfortunately, the unemployment rate is high. For example, on the streets, it is common to find street vendors, and the cost of a frozen lemonade, for example, is 3,000 Colombian pesos in the urban area. There are also street artists of this kind. Whenever the traffic light turns red, they start dancing in the middle of the road and then ask for donations from drivers. Some go as far as approaching cars and offering to clean the windows as a way to earn their livelihood. Ultimately, when the minimum wage in a country is less than 300 and unemployment is high due to population density, people find various ways to maintain a reasonable standard of living. In Colombia, money is a resource that opens all doors, and Medellin is a notable example of this. The city of Bogota, the country's capital, is a metropolis with cable cars extending over it, housing a population of 7 million people. Similar to Medellin, street art is valued here, and the city is known for its organization, giving it a metropolitan feel compared to Medellin. Bogota is the center of action in Colombia, attracting those who wish to study in the country's universities. The most dangerous area, called Santa Fe, is known for illegal activities, and it is a place where most people dare not enter. Colombia is not limited to affordable meals and a lively nightlife. There are various other aspects that make it unique. Just a 2-hour drive from Medellin is the village of Guatapé, a true, lush paradise where mountains meet lakes. The highlight of this region is a gigantic rock that is believed to have formed millions of years ago and is now a tourist destination. The climb to the top requires the payment of a fee. You would be surprised if I told you that this stunning view of the lake was artificially created. Although it looks completely natural when viewed from above, it was actually built by Colombians in the 1970s. This area was transformed into a lake serving for electricity generation through a dam that supplies Colombia. In Colombian villages, there are also peculiar popular markets. The locals are always eager to provide music in these markets. Still, the most curious aspect is another one. People sell and consume alligator heads, an unusual fish species that are said to originate from the Amazon rivers. Although Colombians are generally friendly and welcoming, especially in rural areas, they do what they can to survive. On the other hand, in Colombia, there is a river of unique and surprising nature that is an uncommon sight. This river is located deep in the Amazonian forests and is distinctive for its intensely red-colored water. The reason for this peculiar coloration is the presence of a red plant that grows in the riverbed. Colombians claim that this plant is exclusive to the region and is not found anywhere else. The river was discovered in 1969 and has since been known as the River of Five Colors. Comment down below if you are interested in visiting this amazing country. Don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Check out the last video that is appearing on the screen. You will be surprised.